My name is Derek Satnick. I am the proud Managing Director of Mindsc Innovations Group. I'm one of the founding partners. Mindsc is a small consulting company that has been involved with OSEA for some time. Very proud of that too. And we have our fingers in many different pots within the renewable energy sector. So as a person, I spend a lot of time volunteering on the board, on various committees, in various places that are invested in creating the industry here. I'll be bold and say that I feel that I have one of the better insights into how this market really works, who the people are that actually know what to do and how to do it. And we have made it a personal habit here within Mindsc and myself personally of trying to influence those discussions in healthy ways. Hence my involvement with OSEA, and certainly you're in good hands being in touch with OSEA, and we praise them highly. We're very proud of what they do, and we're proud to be part of what they do. And that's my personal background is through OSEA. We've been involved there in quite some time and use that to connect ourselves with the rest of the energy industry in Ontario. Mindsc is an energy consulting company. We are engineers and consultants, and we spend all of our time talking about energy. So a third of what we do is related to wind and solar, a third of it to existing buildings, and a third of it to new buildings. In all of those spaces, we are invested in helping people use less energy and take energy for what it is, take control of it as a controllable cost, and stop treating it like insurance premiums or taxes and start to actually use that money for your business. So we start there, and when doing energy efficiency projects, usually our purpose or our mandate is to help people find opportunities to conserve and then take the money they would have spent on energy and invest it in smarter things, including energy generation, which of course gives you more independence on site. So we're all over these topics in many different ways. We blog and write regularly, we teach and instruct. I am frequently at conferences or in seminars instructing, and that's my personal role. I do policy and training and a lot of speaking. And the engineering team that is around me does all forms of engineering projects. From pre-feasibility, including siting, and trying to find sites that would be appropriate for various types of projects, such as solar or wind or biogas, including partner development and trying to align parties around those projects who can help you, including helping you identify what help you need, and understanding the scope and the method by which you would go about achieving a real project. And then we do various management services throughout the rest of the project to help make sure the project succeeds, to make sure you get the permits and approvals and government permissions and all of the fine print stuff that is easy to forget or misunderstand. We walk through all of that. We didn't create all those processes, but we've created some, and we know all of the right people and we know the way through those processes. So that is our primary role, is to manage process and to do the engineering work, some of the electrical and structural work and other work required to get those approvals, and then ultimately to manage bid prospects and to get contractors who will do the installations, and then to make sure those installations succeed. We will do commissioning, A to Z. We will start a project off from siting and pre-feasibility, and we will follow it through to final completion and final approvals and final commissioning until somebody's getting paid for the revenue from the project. And we've had some great stories that we can tell there. We love to speak over the phone with people before we work with them and to get to know sort of how they work and what they like and what they don't, and we'd welcome interviews. And we do a lot of sort of social work, if you will, and working with our partners in advance and well after projects are closed to try to just make sure that everybody was pleased and that we got what we expected and they got what they expected, and that if there are lessons that need to be learned, that we learn those and use those for the next project, this kind of thing. So we are an engineering and consulting company, but that includes a lot of things. We like to say we do all things energy. There are many things that Mindsc does in the energy and buildings markets, and broadly speaking, we group those in two halves. We have an energy team and a buildings team, and we're very proud of the projects we've done. On our buildings side, we have spent the last almost 10 years working on all of the different programs that are used in Canada. We're proud to say we are some of the contributing authors to LEAD, which is the North American leading program on green buildings. We have our fingers in the Built Green program, in Energy Star for different types of buildings, in Solar Ready, and in Net Zero. And we've done all of these programs, and we have on our resume some of the first projects in North America and some of what we think are the most exciting. And we would be very pleased to help with green building of any kind. We do policy work and we create programs, which means we have many players and partners in government and in the agencies that offer these programs, and we know them well. We do training on all of these things, for suppliers to understand where they can fit in the market and what they can do, what kind of green claims they can make that are legitimate, that will actually earn points. All the way through to constructors. We teach them how to build green buildings and how to actually certify successfully. We instruct designers, and we often work in a design team where the rest of the team is the normal team, and a builder or developer will hire their normal partners, but add us to the team as a specialist who understands green. And our job is to teach them how the programs work and to help them succeed as they both target points and do their work in such a way as to achieve those points, and then plan to properly verify them on site later and make sure they earn the points and they don't lose anything during construction. And we do a variety of support services that enable that. We will help people on site. We will provide some management consulting support. We will provide documents and templates to help people plan properly and successfully. And we will visit site periodically as well to check in on the teams on site and see how they're doing, to coach them real time on site. And then when it's done, we provide media support. We're very proud of the number of first-time projects we've done and the success we've had. And we have fun telling our story. We like to tell the local media and get them excited. We like press, and we like our partners to look good. Our projects have often won awards. Mindsc itself, since 2007, has won 14 or 15 awards now. And our projects have over 30 some awards on top of that. We have many awarded projects, and we're happy to see those things continue. We're proud when our partners are proud, and we like them to succeed. So with our green building portfolio, we help to create the programs, we help people to use them, and we help them to celebrate when they're done and make sure that they look good and tell their story well. Where are the gaps in the industry? To be honest, I think the gaps are tough to identify right now. The industry is saturated with suppliers that do all the visible stuff. So if you're talking wind or if you're talking solar, there are lots of people who provide blades and nacelles and panels and the big things that are easily seen. Racking, there are many people doing that, and there are many people trying to add value to these processes. The subtle things are probably more valuable, really. The people who are doing connectors, the people who are doing fasteners, the people who can provide coatings, weather-resistant coatings and other things like that, all the subtle stuff that's not exciting, that doesn't get press releases, that really makes the system work. The wiring harnesses and whatever it's going to take to make people efficient on site. That's a big one. Right now, the manufacturing costs of the most expensive components in the system have been plummeting over the last 5-10 years. But the balance of system costs are still very real, and the labor costs are very real. So the biggest gaps that I can identify in the work we do are anything to do with those kinds of efficiencies. If you can help contractors be faster on site because you have a smarter, better system, that's a big deal. Having a fancy panel, that's been done. Other people have done that. Now, if you have a special panel, you could certainly still promote that, but there's not a lot of room to be adding new panels right now. That really is the quiet, hidden stuff behind the panel. How did you make a better panel? And supplying parts to the panel suppliers, I would expect, is a much better opportunity right now. And then beyond that, you can certainly talk to those folks and get an appreciation from them of what their needs are. The industry is maturing. It's in a different stage than it was 5 years ago. So the big visible stuff is largely done, and it's the small hidden stuff that now needs to be done or improved on. And that's where the market as a whole still has great room to improve. So hopefully that's useful to you. What are the current opportunities in the Canadian market for European, Italian, or other people who are doing manufacturing? I would suggest it's similar. The best opportunities that I see in the market right now for manufacturing or product development to grow are going to be the people who are doing the subtle things. Very related to gap analysis types of questions. Really, the only gaps I see in the market right now are the quiet things that make people do their jobs more efficiently. Otherwise, there's lots of big suppliers out there doing big assemblies. So I would say those are the clients to target and find out what they need. And then the real opportunities that still exist are behind them. It's the supply chain that supports them, which the public will largely not even know is there. It's sort of the hidden stuff is the big deal now. If we talk about approvals required or specifications people need to meet, test standards, certifications, and so on, CSA, ULC, ISO, there are a number of these, and they need to be well understood. The market is mature globally, but I would suggest it's still maturing in North America. There are many standards, and you do certainly need to be mindful of the standards. For example, there are CSA standards for PV, And for solar thermal, there are CSA standards for heat pumps. There are no standards for PVT, where you integrate thermal and electric generation. There are no standards for building integrated versions of those things, especially not BIPVT all in one. Wind is similar. There are standards for engines. There are standards for blades. I believe there are standards for nacelles now. I may be wrong. There are standards for components, and there are fewer standards for assemblies. So I guess the general rule of thumb applies anywhere globally. Whenever you have a new project in mind, call people in the area of the project and ask them what approvals they will need. And do not assume that the approval process in your home country is anything like the approval process here. Make sure to talk to someone local. Certainly, we would like to help you with that. We're not the only help you could get. There are others who can help you with that. But we can help you identify things like CSA standards, ISO standards, ULC standards, whatever the right standards would be. And it's very, very important to get compliant with those standards in advance. They often require testing. If you do not go through that testing in advance, I have been part of some projects that failed where equipment had to be removed from the site because it was installed, but it wasn't properly certified, and people did not know that until too late. And unfortunately, a lot of money was wasted building the project and getting approvals that they thought were valid until they ran into CSA and product level things where usually what happens is the electrical grid operator comes to pull the switch and turn it on. And before they put their sticker on equipment and turn the switch, they ask some tough questions and they expect good answers. And the answers are usually very simple. Do you have a sticker that says CSA? And if you do, then we're good. And if you don't, then we're in big trouble. And it's much too late to discover that then. We should know that in advance. So yes, there's lots of discussion we could have about how those approval processes work, but be diligent and do them early. And if you don't know how, then get help and do them early. OSEA is a big collaborator, and all of OSEA's members, for the most part, I won't speak for all of them, I guess I shouldn't, but most of OSEA's members are big on collaboration. The industry in Ontario is young, and the people who are thriving are the collaborators. Especially when talking about international business, I'm sure the fact that you're watching this video means you've already crossed this bridge. But it is very important to have a local partner in the local market who understands the local challenges that are not spoken and are not written, but are known, and are known as cultural things, where it would be difficult for us to explain to a non-Ontarian what the Ontario idiosyncrasies are, what the weird things are that happen here that can cause trouble to projects. So the most important partner that you can have for a project you bring into Ontario, it will depend slightly on the nature of the project, but it will be someone who is local and understands the rules. That's going to need to be a few different hats. In Ontario, our markets are fairly specialized and segregated. So we have different professionals for different things, I'm sure, much like your own market. And you will end up finding that you need people who control land. You need people who have access to finance. That can come from out of the province, but usually needs to respect provincial rules. So there needs to be an advisor in Ontario who understands financial rules in Ontario. You'll need someone who can talk about tax and what will happen to project revenues and who gets taxed and how to plan for that. You will need technical people who understand both design and construction and who understand how those things are different. And you will need somebody who can sort of connect all those dots. Often, you will have a lot of experience in your home country that will help this discussion and will make things easier for you, but you will still need local people to do the final implementation. So for example, if you have a design solution you like, where you have come from, the odds are very good that you can use most of that design here, but you will be legally required to have an Ontario engineer sign it and say that it is safe for Ontario and that it uses Ontario's rules and it follows Ontario's laws. So you can combine your design team, bring your design expertise here, but then use a partner here to finish and to make sure that everything is compliant. And the same is true for other stories. If you bring products to Canada, usually you have test results wherever you brought them from, especially in Europe. Your test standards are very similar to ours. Some are more rigorous than ours, but it still does need to be approved for Canada. So you often can use the same lab that you used in Europe to get your TUV or other certifications that you got. You can often use those same partners to get CSA or ULC to use those in Canada. And CSA is the Canadian Standards Association. ULC is, I think it's Universal Laboratories Canada. The idea between these agencies is all very similar. Their standards are all very similar, but there is a degree of rigor required, and it must be done. So local partners can help with that, and certainly anything to do with construction, you need local people who understand the local building permits, local site plan approvals, local electrical approvals. Ontario, like every jurisdiction, has its own way of doing these things, and you need local people who understand that. What is Mindscape looking for? We would like to be a local partner that can help guide you through these processes. We have a lot of experience in wind and solar in Ontario. We've been very privileged to be part of the team that helped write the rules. We did have our fingers with OSEA in the pie to create the Green Energy Act, and we know the rules very well, better than most. Our success rate is higher than most, and so far we have over 20 megawatts worth of small and medium-sized projects that we've been able to move in various stages of the application process through to completion. And we're very proud of that. And we have a lot we can do for solar projects. We have a lot we can do for wind because the process is very similar. And we have a bit we can do for biogas, and we know the people who can help do the rest. We are not chemists. We are electrical, structural, and mechanical. So anything to do with the electrical grid we can help with. Anything to do with biogas design or bioprocess design, we would bring other partners. And we can introduce you to construction partners and finance partners and everything else that you would need to make a project go well in Ontario. We can help with project siting, and we can help with final commissioning, and with everything in between as a consultant. And our primary role is to be a consultant, an energy consultant that knows the grid and knows the process and can help you walk a project through.